What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So today we got some huge news. We need to get to what's going on with just the CPI data, but also the stimulus update, because these two things do go hand in hand. Also, we know inflation is the worst it's been in 40 years, and now we're hearing reports of a potential trucker protest coming this Sunday. So, I want to break down everything that's currently going on. Hopefully you guys have had an incredible start to your week, but let's get to the CPI data that came out this morning. Here's what we know. Month over month inflation rose by 0.6%. This puts our previous 12-month inflation rate at 7.5%. This is the highest it has been since February of 1982. That's 40 years ago. Now, food rose month over month by 0.9%. This is insane. Energy rose by 0.9%. Sporting goods alone, those rose by 2.5% month over month as well. And shelter rose by 0.3% also. Here's the reason why these are so critical. If we don't see these numbers start to level off or somewhat decline, the problem is we're going to continue to see higher and higher inflation. And even though the Federal Reserve says that they have this under control, many expect they do not. Now, these CPI reports that come out every single month are crucial for many things. Now, first, it shows how much consumers are actually spending for certain products and services. But this also impacts spending that Congress could potentially make or is willing to do. Now, just this morning, after the CPI data was released and we saw a 7.5% inflation number, we did get a statement from Senator Joe Manchin. He's been the one since like September saying that or maybe it was even August, that we need to slow down. We need to understand what's going on with inflation. Inflation in August was nowhere near 7%. So that's why he's saying that we need to do this. But I want to read you this statement. Here's what it says. Now you can see, today U.S. Senator Joe Manchin, okay? Here's what he's saying. For months, I have been ringing the alarm bell about inflation. Once again, we are witnessing that the threat of inflation is real. There is not a corner of this nation where hardworking families are able to escape the noticeable impact of this inflation tax. Inflation taxes are draining the hard-earned wages of every American, and it's causing real and severe economic pain that can no longer be ignored. It's beyond time for the Federal Reserve to tackle this issue head-on, and Congress and the administration must proceed with caution before adding more fuel to the economy already on fire. As inflation and our $30 trillion in national debt continue a historic climb, only in Washington, D.C. do people seem to think that spending trillions more of taxpayers' money will cure our problems, let alone inflation. And then he goes on to say, we must get serious about the finances of our country. It's time we start acting like stewards of our economy and the money the American people entrust their government with. Now, more than ever, we must remember it is not our money. It's the American people's money. It is not our economy. It's their economy. We all have a responsibility to do all that is possible to roll back inflation and manage our debts, because the longer we or the Federal Reserve waits to act, the more economic pain will be caused. That's what he said. Now, I really wanted to bring that up for one main reason, and it is because it's extremely important to understand that right now he's reiterating the fact that Democrats must work with him, not against him. They must work with him to reduce our national deficit. But by reducing the national deficit, right now, some are wanting to deficit spend. That's the issue. Is Senator Joe Manchin says, no, absolutely no way, and many moderates are behind him on this. No, we cannot deficit spend. We have to address the deficit. We have to reduce inflation. It's hurting millions of Americans across the country and across the globe. So, with this new data that comes out, this just reiterates that the Build Back Better Act that was being considered, this is pretty much dead. Now, Senator Joe Manchin said this, was it like 2 weeks ago, that this was dead. This just reiterates the fact that it is dead. There's no way that with a 7.5% inflation reading, there's no way Democrats come out and try to push more help to the American people. We are seeing that now. Foreclosures are actually starting to increase. We're still below the pre-pandemic levels, but they're starting to increase. That's not great. We also are hearing that major U.S. suppliers, U.S. food suppliers, will be pulling all or most promotions for Q2 to try to stabilize their supply. This is no joke. And this is why I've said before that if you are wanting to stock up on food, you should probably do it now. Because number one, we're going to continue to see supply chain shortages. Number two, companies are going to be pulling a lot of their promotions. And three, you may want to just make sure that you have the stuff that you need, because you never know what's going to happen. Now, governors are trying to eliminate the mask mandates. This is seen as potentially a game changer moving forward. That's great. But here's a big thing that many people aren't realizing. The CPI report, the 7.5%, reports indicate that landlords that accepted rental assistance for their tenants, well, they're not allowed to raise rents yet, and they can't kick people out. So, this is actually keeping the CPI data down for rents. Remember how I said shelter was at 0.3%? Well, guess what? If landlords could raise their rents just all over the country, we'd see a massive jump. Because when rents finally do jump up, the inflation reading, according to many experts, will be insane. Currently, rents and shelter make up around 30% of the CPI. Around 30%. So it's heavily weighted. Now, the reason why I want to be, again, I'm trying to be very transparent here. All the reports that we've been seeing over the past, few months, really even the past 3 to 6 months, have all been geared towards the same thing. Let's provide for the American people. Let's get the American people back to where they once were, back to where the lives that we once lived. Now, providing a child tax credit payment, does that get the American people back to where they once were? Yes, it could help. But is that going to be the ultimate answer? Some say no. It's not. Because children and parents have received help in the past. But who hasn't received help? Students have received help, and their help and their assistance is going to go away very soon, because very soon they're going to have to start paying back their student debts. That's the payment pause is going to expire. So they've received some help. People on Social Security, they did get a 5.9% cost of living adjustment. Some say that should be adequate, but at the same time, others say no, it's not even close, because you give somebody a benefit here, a 5.9% cost of living adjustment, but then you take away other benefits. It costs more for Medicare. You take away some of the SNAP benefits, so nutrition assistance, it goes away. So really, you're either at the same level or you're a little bit behind where you were in 2020 and 2021. But again, going back to the same thing, how do we provide more to the American people without increasing our deficit, without raising inflation? Two things. The CPI data report today, and this is huge. This is huge news, because some were expecting 7.2%, 7.3%. Nobody was expecting, a couple people were expecting 7.5, 7.6. But that was really it. Most were expecting we were going to be in just a little bit over 7% inflation, not 7.5%. So it's insane where things are going at this time. Now, here's another issue. Remember when I just said that if you need products in the store, that some major U.S. food suppliers will be pulling their promotions, either all of them or most of them, for Q2. Well, here's the other thing that could put a little bit of a damper on what's happening. According to reports just yesterday, the Department of Homeland Security is warning the public and law enforcement that the U.S. could see a trucker protest begin on Sunday for the Super Bowl. Now, we've been seeing this trucker protest in Ottawa, Canada for some time, but it could finally make its way into the U.S. The officials say the convoy could severely disrupt transportation, federal government, and law enforcement operations through gridlock and potential counter-protests. So just keep that in mind, that transportation, if we can't get food to certain areas of the country, you might want to make sure that you have a certain stockpile now before some stores run out of the products that you're looking for. Okay? So, just a little bit of advice for you. Now, in COVID news, President Biden, and this is the report that came out this morning, President Biden and his healthcare team have been trying to come up with a plan to transition to the next phase of the pandemic. However, they currently do not have a plan. They don't know. But the interesting thing about what they are doing is that Democratic governors are not waiting. They don't want to wait. They're going to move forward with their own plans to eliminate mask mandates and ease restrictions. That's what's being discussed today. That's what I discussed over the past couple of days. That we are seeing governors go against the administration because, according to them, the administration is not following the science. But according to many reports, governors aren't following the science either, and they are just trying to get a little bit of a win right before the elections. So, we're going to see what happens moving forward, but that is what we know at this time. Again, as I know more, I promise I'll come back on, share all latest news and updates. Hopefully you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.